Hi everybody, welcome to this week's Coping with Change series. Today we're going to talk about kind of getting back into rebuilding old skills that we used to practice on a daily basis, when we were in work, when we were in college, when we were going about our lives before COVID. So kind of readjusting, bringing those skills back, and also how to cultivate new ones. So today our guest speaker is Adrianna Mannix, and she is a life coach, a cognitive behavioral therapist, and a nutritionist. So she is a triple threat. And today she's going to talk about building new skills and getting back into routines we were in before. So thank you, Adrianna, for being with us today.
No problem.
So I'm just going to ask you 3 questions.
Okay.
So kind of when I think about, transition, change, learning new skills, a word that always comes up for me is self-efficacy.
Okay.
So could you bring us through what self-efficacy is?
Yeah, of course. So self-efficacy is the ability to execute a plan in order to succeed in a particular part of your life. So for example, if you wanted to be like, so if I go back to when I worked in rehabilitation for 10 years, it was when people came in and they wanted to build self-efficacy in order to help build, positive behaviors around staying off alcohol or drugs. So self-efficacy was a goal they set themselves that they would, execute on a daily basis that helped elevate their self-esteem or self-efficacy. And every time they succeeded, it seemed to go up a little bit higher, their self-efficacy. So how do we succeed? It's about starting small. A lot of people make the mistakes of starting really, really, really high, these really high goals. Oh, I'm never going to have a cigarette again. I'm never going to drink again. I'm never going to take a drug again. It's too much, So obviously not taking the drugs is very important, and the drink, but to give up cigarettes as well, we need to have something as a bit of a crutch while we get through building up self-efficacy to stay strong. If we lose everything at once, it can be very, very difficult to stay motivated because we're overwhelmed. We're completely overwhelmed. So self-efficacy, and it fluctuates from time to time. So when you're tired and you're not looking after yourself, your self-efficacy will be lower. When you're eating well and you're exercising and you're spending time with good company, it's easier to have more motivation to execute your plan to succeed in your goals. So self-efficacy can fluctuate, that's for sure. And it also can have a lot to do with our beliefs. So in the past, for example, if you succeeded in certain areas of your life, that you were good at sport and you were good at academics and you were good at certain subjects and you achieved a certain level, depending on how you executed your plan and what goals you followed to succeed in that area. And that can help you have a baseline of, well, I've done it in the past and I succeeded when I put my mind to it. Well, what tools did I use then in order to accomplish that I can now, put into this new formula that I'm going to use now to execute this plan. So I think self-efficacy can also come a lot from our parents too, when our parents allow us to be curious and allow us to, watch their behaviors and see them maybe fail and get back up and go again and succeed, then building, small steps to self-efficacy. So parents will have a big part to play in building self-efficacy. Or for me, actually, I had a brilliant 4th class teacher. Her name was Mrs. McLaughlin, and she was excellent. She used to say to me all the time, "Of course you can do that." What? Of course you can. You're excellent at that. And because I believed in her and I really liked her, I believed then I could do it, and most of the time, because of her support, I did do it, So I find sometimes if you have a really good mentor, somebody who's, maybe been doing it a little bit longer than you, that you can kind of learn vicariously through them, that can be really good. And, coaching is really, really good for building self-esteem, because what happens is we just lose our way, and coaching can help us break down those barriers to how we lost our way and then find a new, place to start over and to build again that self-efficacy to achieve those small goals in order to reach our destination.
So back when you were working in rehabilitation services and mental health recovery, well, you're still working in mental health recovery, I know you did trainings on building self-efficacy. What were like the modules or the topics that you covered, just to give an idea of how to build it or where to start?
Yeah, so
I know you said coaching there.
yeah, coaching was a big one, and also setting yourself small goals. So we used to set the guys small goals. So for a lot of them, it was, believe it or not, it was around exercise and proper nutrition, because obviously coming off drugs and alcohol, they hadn't been looking after their or caring for themselves. So it was like I used to teach them how to do very simple meals, and then I'd get them to cook them while I was there, and then they'd like an omelette or some poached eggs with toast, simple stuff that was full of, you know, protein, fats and carbs, easy meals that was going to energize them. And then like for exercise, we used to start off again with small goals. We'd start off with walking, and then we'd do maybe a couple of lunges and squats the next day, and then the week after that we might do a gentle jog. So we did small things to build up their self-efficacy, where they felt they could achieve then the higher level, where they were going to feel much better. But again, the most important element of it is to start small, because if we have low self-efficacy and we start high and we fail, we fall hard, and then we believe we can't achieve it. Where if we start small, when we've been through a very difficult time, and we start to achieve on a smaller level, that starts to, you know, break the bit of sunshine through, where we start to have a little bit of hope and a little bit of belief in ourselves, and we build up our confidence as well. And then every time you execute your small plan and it happens, another little bit of self-efficacy, and then you can go on to the next level. So the most important thing I felt for them was to also, you know, verbal persuasion. I always felt that like, so I used to find out what they were really good at. So most of them were the most amazing people I ever knew. They were so intelligent. So I'd find out, say, for example, one of them was really good at communication, and I'd work with them a lot with their communication. I'd get them to do some presentations, and they'd be up talking about their life, and they'd be absolutely on a high, and they'd feel amazing, a natural high, and they'd feel absolutely amazing. And then I'd say, well, you know, maybe after a few weeks, I'd say, well, what is it that you're really struggling with? And they'd say to me, well, I'm really struggling with exercise, and, you know, I'm very lethargic and fatigued, and I don't know where to start. But then I say, like, well, you've done amazing in the communication, and I go back to their strengths. I say, what can we use from that to bring into the area where you're struggling with? And the first thing I remember, one of the guys in particular, he said, well, commitment was very important. I used to get up every day and write out what I was going to talk about, and I'd kind of go over in my head with it. And I said, well, exercise is exactly the same thing. So how about you get up, you write down what you're going to do, and then you do maybe one or two of them every day. So you can always do it in the area that you feel confident in. So whatever you're really good at, how did I get good at that? And then bring in the shortcomings. So we all have shortcomings, remember. Everybody does, no matter at what level we're at. We all have things that we're not very good at. So it's about reminding yourself of what I am very good at, and how I can implement what I am really good at into elevating what I amn't very good at, you know. So small goals are very important. Achieving those small goals, every time you achieve a small goal, it slightly elevates your self-efficacy to move on to the next task. And then, as I said, to be around people who are encouraging, you know. So verbal persuasion is very important. So even to, you know, get a buddy, you know, that you're getting on well with, and, you know, see how they're, you know, because everybody has different strengths, and look at their strengths, and what are you good at? You're really good at that, and I'm really good at this. So let's help each other to, you know, where we're good and where we fall back. You know, so that really helps to have somebody to give you a little bit of support.
So when we're kind of thinking about self-efficacy, what would be some of the benefits that come from increasing your self-efficacy?
So the benefits of high self-efficacy is that you have belief in yourself. You believe that you can accomplish things, that when you put your mind to something, you can execute the plan and follow through and get the results that you want, you know. So confidence is very much attached to self-esteem, you know. So the more you follow through on your daily tasks and complete them, the more you feel confident about your ability to proceed and accomplish something else, you know. So confidence will have a big change now as we elevate our self-esteem or our self-efficacy. I keep saying self-esteem, you know. Self-esteem and self-efficacy, they're very much together, but the difference with self-esteem is self-esteem can be our view on ourselves, how we see ourselves. So if we have high self-esteem, we view ourselves as our opinion of ourselves is more important than how other people see us. So that would be considered someone with high self-esteem. High self-efficacy is more about doing something rather than how people perceive us or how you perceive yourself. You know, so they're very, and I think when you have high self-efficacy, you automatically kind of have high self-esteem as well, because you're saying to yourself, well, I executed all of those goals that I had, and then you see yourself differently, and so your self-esteem then is also slightly elevated or very much elevated, depending on how well you're feeling about yourself. And also, I think, you know, I think I've said to you before about one task. So when you get up in the morning, for me, I always do the first task really well. So whether that's making my bed or, you know, meditating or saying a prayer or whatever, I always do that first task really, really well. So then that sets the precedent then for the next task and the next one and the next one, you know. So it's about doing the first task of the day really well. And the payback is huge. It's ongoing. And also, people with high self-efficacy, they start to approach tasks differently. So when a difficult task comes, they look at it as more of a challenge than a problem. So when you start to elevate your self-efficacy, it's like, okay, so here's another challenge for me to overcome and, you know, to build higher self-efficacy rather than seeing it as a problem. You know, they also, they carry themselves differently. I always see people with high self-efficacy, they have a real open body language. You know, they're much more open and they're happier. They're definitely happy. Accomplishments are, you know, positivity and ability to succeed, so that they become really happy with who they are, you know. So happiness is very, very important and a very, very much linked to self-esteem. And I mean, as I've said before, remember all these things we talk about: happiness, self-esteem, self-efficacy, they all fluctuate. We don't always. So when you feel that you're kind of lower and you wake up and you haven't slept well and you haven't eaten well, you're not going to feel like you've high self-efficacy or high self-esteem. That's normal. So it's about going back to basics, not thinking, oh God, I'm failing. You're not failing. So all you need to do is maybe cook yourself a nice meal, do a bit of meditation, have an early night, go for a walk. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, I always kind of have a bit of a checklist. Well, how did I sleep last night? Before I beat myself up about not, you know, following through on all my tasks, I say, well, you know, did I sleep well last night? No. Did I eat well yesterday? Well, not really. Did I drink enough water? No. So, you know, always go back to basics before you start to criticize yourself. And then if those things haven't been looked after and identified, it's hard then to move on and to have high self-efficacy and high self-esteem every day. So it's the little tasks that are important to get us to the bigger tasks to build our self-esteem and self-efficacy. I'm obsessed with self-esteem at the moment.
Well, thank you so much, Adrianna, for taking part. And thank you for that. I'm going to do something small today to build my self-efficacy. I'm going to be doing that in the morning now, the one thing a day.
Brilliant.
Place to start.
Yeah, bye. Thanks a million.